This is Hollow Knight, an indie Metroidvania game recommended to me by Kirby. Get used to that, by the way. In this game, you play as a knight who is called by a distant cry to a dying kingdom, seeking to silence that cry. In this video, I'll be taking you along with me on my first playthrough of the game, my first journey through Hallownest. And to not take up much time, let's start at the beginning. Enchained. Within it awakens the light that doomed this kingdom. From it dawns the infection, and its prison is cracked as it seeps out from it, letting out an infernal cry. The cry is a catalyst for two things: 3 seals placed on the prison, and the arrival of the night. From a distance it arrives, drawn to this kingdom by that unknown call, devoid of emotion, devoid of speech, with its only greatest goal being silencing that cry. When it takes the plunge into the kingdom, there is no way back. The game begins with a short tutorial section right on the outside of the kingdom. The tutorial is present to show that this game has combat and will require you to do a bit of platforming. After a short bit of time, I was met with a text on the wall that introduced me to the main mechanic of this game: Soul. Soul is obtained from hitting enemies and, for now, is used for healing once enough is collected. After not seeing a door and getting an environmental kill, I found a lifeblood cocoon. Breaking a lifeblood cocoon releases these little guys. When you slaughter them, they give you lifeblood, which is just overheal that can't be healed back once lost. After that, I went down to the door I missed and found some geo, the game's currency, before falling and eventually reaching a huge door that I proceeded to vandalize for a few seconds. Welcome to Dirtmouth, a deserted town that provides an entrance to the kingdom. Here I met Elderbug, who tells us that all who resided here delved into the caverns below, never returning. He tells us of Hallownest, which was once a thriving and great kingdom, but has long since fallen to ruin, still alluring visitors though. He also tells us about the recent infection and its effects on the citizens. In front of Elderbug was the game's save method: benches. Benches are used as a save point, a safe space, and a place to make changes to your inventory. I'll explain what kind of changes soon though. Ahead of Dirtmouth was the entrance to the kingdom, Hallownest. This is the first area, the Forgotten Crossroads, a gloomy, dark place filled with freely roaming critters and aggressive husks. While descending the western path, I found a small entrance littered with vegetation. Upon entering it, I walked down the path and saw a sign which spoke of a city beyond verdant wilds and fungal groves. I assumed the verdant wilds were up ahead, so I went on, only to be stopped by an enemy. This is an Elder Boulder, who spits at you if you're far away from it, and shields itself from you if you get close enough to attack. This thing was definitely not letting me get past anytime soon, so I retreated and descended deeper into the crossroads. In the next room, I heard humming to the right of me, or technically behind me. This humming came from one of the coolest bugs around, Cornifer the Cartographer. Apart from the fact that this guy's humming literally soothes my soul, no pun intended, he also sells maps of the areas at a very reasonable price. However, the map alone isn't gonna help you much, so he encourages you to buy a compass from his wife, who's opening up their shop in Dirtmouth. Editor Zen here. If we take a look together at this map, I want you to focus on this symbol right here where we are. I only just realized as I was editing this that this symbol is of Cornifer's face. From this moment up until now, I genuinely thought that it was a flower. In the center of the map was a very interesting symbol, this one showing some sort of horned beast with a very similar look to the knight we play as. Might be some sort of faker, some sort of mimic. Before heading there to find out, I went to the left, did a bit of platforming, fought this piece of shit, and found this cutie. This is a grub. They're scattered around the map, trapped in glass jars, and freeing them will cause them to hit a little jig and then leave. That was absolutely worth it, by the way. I then went the other way and found some geo. Most of it fell down though, so I went to pick it up and... So this is the greed they speak of in the Bible. Now I'm in a battle with an aspid who just flies around and spits at you, so it's not that hard of an enemy. After killing the first one, 2 more spawned in and I started having the worst skill issue of all time. Well, at least I can visit the map shop. Upon entering, I was greeted by Isolde, Cornifer's wife. Here I could buy the Wayward Compass, which... Wait a minute. Where's my geo? And why is my soul meter broken? Upon going back to the place where I died, I met something special. This is a shade. Now I'm speaking from pure assumption here, but I'm pretty sure this thing is why Hollow Knight is considered a Souls-like. The shade is a unique enemy that spawns after death. It's a flying enemy that carries all of your money and a third of your soul gauge. So this thing is basically your wallet. Keep in mind though, even though it came from you, it's still hostile and killing it will give you back your soul gauge and your money. After a flawless victory, I went on for a little bit before finding a sign that led to a bench and a toll. After paying 50 geo, the gate opened and a bell emerged from the ground, which upon ringing it, called upon the last stag. This guy is used for fast travel, but due to how long it's been, he doesn't remember where all of the stations are, nor where his nest is, so the player has to find more stations around Hallownest to remind him where they are. The good thing is that he does remember the location of a station in Dirtmouth. He then took me there, and now I have a quick way to get to the center of the Crossroads. I took a second to check what was beyond the entrance to Hallownest, and there I found a rock with a keyhole. I then decided to check out this little building at the top of the map. This is the Temple of the Black Egg. Inside of it I found Quirrell, a traveler who is pretty curious about the egg and the kingdom. Now you've probably noticed that this is the same egg seen in the beginning cutscene of the game, so this temple is likely very important. I kept going eastwards and eventually found this big dude, and gave up on fighting it. After a bit of exploration, I got to this room below that verdant entrance, and unfortunately, because I didn't know you could hit downwards to pogo off of spikes, I left the room. I then ventured into a mineshaft to a room filled with large pink crystals, and found a humming miner by the name of Mila. She's mining in hopes of finding riches beyond her wildest dreams, and she's seemingly close because of the light coming out of the rocks. Above the room was another where the floor was seemingly fragile but required a bit more force to break it down. After hyping myself up, I went back for round 2. Big mistake, I guess. I got my shade, went back to fight him, and decided to see if parrying was a mechanic. So I went back to Dirtmouth and got my first charm, the Wayward Compass, which allows me to see where I am on the map as long as I have it on. I then sat down on the bench by Elderbug, struggled to find the keybind that opens my inventory, and equipped the charm. Upon going into this room, I found the place where all of the freed grubs go, and their father. Judging by how many burrows there are, there's a lot of them. Wait, is that money? Yeah, I should go look for more grubs. Anyways, after a bit of murder, I bought the quill, which allows me to update my map as I go further than it is upon purchase. Now, to the left of the place where I fought the aspids, there's a path that I can't reach right now. Keep that in mind. I then went as far right as I can get until I reached a giant sleeping fly, who I promptly assaulted. This is Gruzmother, the first boss of this playthrough, who flies around aimlessly and attempts to hit you by giving itself brain damage. Upon killing this thing, I realized that it was pregnant. and it was bouncing off the walls and shit. How are the babies alive? After dealing with all of the babies, I found this little guy who has been inhaling a bit too much of the infection. He talks about a presumably clumsy swordsman named Oro, the likely reason why he's stranded here, and he's awake now, okay. He told me that he can tell I wield my nail properly, which led me to think he's some sort of sensei who's gonna teach me how to not wield my nail like a club. Now, because I had the wayward compass, I actually decided to find out what that thing from earlier is. On the way there, I finally killed one of these big guys, and before I knew it, I was right there. Once I got to the end of the room, from the heavens fell. False Knight is the first main boss of Hollow Knight, and despite how fat he is, this guy has some vertical. Look at this. As I was dodging this thing's attacks, occasionally going in to nibble on its health bar, I asked myself, why is this thing called a False Knight? Well, upon knocking this guy on his stomach, his mask opened up to reveal... We cannot be serious. After slapping him in the face a few times, he gets up in total embarrassment, jumps to the center of the arena, and proceeds to throw a huge tantrum. Yeah, I don't know why he does this, he's not even hitting me. Oh dear. After knocking him out for the third time... am I being for real right now? On my way back, I decided to kill this big guy again and... How much money did I lose? Okay, round 2. Okay, I'm back where I left off and almost at full health. Okay, let me just stay in the corner. Surprised that didn't happen sooner. Oh, hey. Huh? How the literal hell did this thing... Ooh, what's this? City crest. After opening a chest with a bunch of geo, I proceeded up until I found this shelter cave thing. Oh, that's a cool looking bench. Probably uncomfortable though. Wait, why does this bench have a spine if insects are invertebrates? I need to stop asking questions. So upon talking to this guy, he offers the knight a gift in the form of a spell. I think he spiked it. Jokes aside, this is the first spell obtained in the game, Vengeful Spirit, which is a very fast projectile attack that specializes in making fodder enemies turn extra crispy. The guy who gave us the spell asks us for a favor. Some creature is living in the heart of this temple, and I have to go kill it. On the way I found a soul totem, which you can just hit to gain soul until it's empty, and a lifeblood cocoon. Eventually it was time to face the beast. Oh, I know where I'm going next, okay. I then died again because this thing kept shooting its kids at me. That does not sound right, actually. I then developed a strategy. Since this is the same thing from earlier, if I walk up to it... Cheese time. Okay, I killed it. And I got a new charm. We're winning today. I then equipped the new charm, which allowed me to gain more soul per hit. And guess what I did with my new spell? I didn't even use this spell. Be free! Man, I love those little guys. So after spending 15 minutes going literally everywhere but the place I needed to go, I finally got to the Elder Boulder and proceeded to...
It's wizard time, motherfucker! Fireball!
After going through a short transitional screen, I entered a new area. Greenpath is a nature-filled area with acidic waters, camouflaged creatures, and vegetation everywhere, seemingly a paradise for the wildlife of Hallownest. While walking around, I found... we look very similar. Okay, wait there! I want to check if there's something back here. I said wait! After getting confused for a little bit, I went back to Sly's shop. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that the guy we saved earlier is a shopkeeper, not a sensei. I then bought a simple key for like all of my money, and used it on this door I found beyond Dirtmouth Cemetery an hour ago. Inside I found this guy, who talks about having lingering regrets, like black stains in the world that start to drain hope from us, and then told me I have none. I didn't understand what he meant at the time, even though the word black stains was a very clear hint, so I left with one lingering regret: buying that fucking key. Eventually I went back and figured out that I'm supposed to cut these vines. I then saw a piece of paper on the floor, okay, let's try this again. Which I followed, and it led me to a cornifer, whose map I can't afford. Damn it. After finding a grub and killing enough things for me to have the exact amount of geo I need, I bought the map. And upon looking at it, I realized that I hadn't seen shit. Whilst exploring a bit, I found 3 new enemies that I want to talk about. Obbles, which I'm adding as a placeholder because I like rule of 3. A Fool Eater, which I'm surprised didn't damage me considering its name. And a Moss Charger, which when hit reveals itself to be... Is it gonna be a recurring thing that something small is piloting something monumentously huger than it? Oh hey, there she is again. Okay, so maybe she's leading me somewhere. On the way up I found a bench which was unlocked by a toll, which I didn't see until I did a full rotation around the room. And after reading some lore, I was put into a cage fight with a Moss Knight. Moss Knights are difficult to fight because they block attacks from all sides and only leave room to attack when they themselves are attacking. At some point in the fight though, it decided to start zoning, so I died. On my second attempt, I fought a bit more strategically and ended up killing it. After that, I went on and found a room that seemed like it was taking me back to the Crossroads, took the right path and ended up not in the Crossroads. There wasn't much there, so I went back and checked the other side to find some grumpy guy in the jaws of a giant vengefly. I started the fight, and a few seconds later the little one started rocking my shit. So I tactically retreated and fought them alone, and after healing I went back and started absolutely selling, before eventually killing it. The grumpy guy then got up and started talking mad shit. He calls himself Zot the Tiny, I mean Mighty, and his sword is apparently called Life Ender. I mean, yeah, I'd wanna end mine too if I had to get saved by a blank slate character, but we're not gonna talk about that. Eventually though, the music stopped and I was greeted by the lady from earlier. This time though, she's not running away. She's running my fade. I'm sorry. This is Hornet. Her attacks mostly involve her needle and some magic thread that she gets from who the hell knows where. Similar to an actual Hornet though, she moves around the place like crazy, making it kinda hard to hit her, and leading to my death. The boss fight itself doesn't seem like it'll be that horrible, but the path to get to the arena is a whole different story. And I ended up dying to 2 Moss Knights before getting back my shade. There goes a bunch of geo. I then made it back, got my shade, and proceeded to try fighting the Moss Knights again. Like, dude, we have a boss to fight. And instead of going to that boss, I went to explore a bit, which led to me finding a bench that was a lot closer to the arena, so I'm not complaining. I then went back for round 2, fully healed. The good thing about Hornet is that sometimes she moves to a corner to launch an attack. So if I was low, I could stand in the opposite corner and heal. This saved me like twice during the fight, and eventually I won. And she retreated. The corpse that had a great view of the fight then fell over and I stole its cloak from it, giving me my first new movement option, a dash. And one interesting thing I noted, apart from the fact that she literally escaped, is that the achievement says I defeated Hornet in green path, meaning this is not gonna be the last time we see her. After almost dying while learning how to dash, I made my way to the Lake of Un. Un was mentioned in a lore tab that I read earlier in Green Path, and I presume he's the one who gave rise to all of the greenery here. Inside a small building I found a bench, and Quirrell. At the edge, I saw a Moss Knight that was basking in the sights and proceeded to ruin his aura farming session. After killing him, I taunted him a bit and went back to reverse ground pound this thing. After getting my shade, I went back to that one place I thought was the Crossroads and crossed this gap using my new dash ability. There I found a chest that gave me 1 piece of geo, which fell into it. So fueled by greed, I jumped in. Damn it. Luckily I have my cheese method to make only one of them run the ones and then pick them both off separately. After a flawless victory, I was then rewarded with a charm that gave me a shield when focusing soul. I then explored a bit more of Green Path before going to Sly and buying a mask shard. Collecting 4 of these grants me an extra mask. Also at Dirtmouth I found Zote the fraud who started capping out of his ass, and a new character, Tiso, who told me of an arena where people like us, not including Zote, can fight other formidable warriors. After remembering that one gap I couldn't cross, I crossed it with my newly unlocked dash and descended into a new area. Welcome to the Fungal Wastes, an area covered with a network of fungi and this fat thing. Oh yeah, there's also a lot of acid here, so I hope you enjoy the hot springs. Soon enough I stumbled into a cave entrance where I met Leg Eater. Leg Eater offers to show me something nice for 86 Geo. Please let me not regret this. Oh, it's a shop. Okay, we're fine then. And I can't afford anything. After that I met an enemy that sounds like a cat and ended up dying with a full soul meter. I cannot be serious. I then encountered a new type of enemy that reminded me of the fact that some things can do double damage. After falsely believing there was a boss to my right,
If there's a boss here, RIP. That's it. Can I get a bench or something, like, please?
the ground started shaking on the other path. This is Cloth, yet another adventurer looking for battle within Hallownest. Upon meeting her, she tells us of a rumored ancient tribe of warriors down below. So I guess I know where I'm headed now. After seeing these things for the first time and spending a minute not knowing what to do, I decided to backtrack a bit to see if there was another way across and accidentally hit a bomb. I then went all the way back to the first junction of the area and took the left path this time, leading me into an arena with 2 goo-spitting mushrooms. After killing both of them, I received a charm notch. After quite a bit of exploring, I found Cornifer and obtained the map of this area. I then continued on until I reached the Queen Station. And after listening to Quirrell for a bit, I'll come back to that later. After about 4 minutes, I went back to the same screen I was stuck on, and once I hit the thing from the side, I knew what to do from there. On the way down the screen, I spotted Hornet yet again, followed her, and realized that I'm gonna have to go the other way. I went deeper into the... Okay, take 2. Oh yeah, editors in here, I don't know why I don't have this recorded, but I got a new upgrade called the Mantis Claw, which lets me grab onto and jump off of walls. With the newly acquired Mantis Claw, I went back to where I saw Hornet. After activating this bridge by doing some short platforming, mainly involving the Mantis Claw itself, I reached a huge statue of the False Knight, inserted the city crest into it, and passed under this giant wall. When I came back down from an upper path, I didn't even notice that the door locked behind me. After a quick encounter with an intercontinental ballistic missile and a few husks, I met a special type of enemy, a guard of sorts, with incredibly quick attacks and a very small window to attack him. After spending a few seconds trying to figure out how an elevator works, I descended further. Welcome to the City of Tears, Hallownest's capital, a bustling, heavily guarded city at the heart of the kingdom, with ever-present rainfall from above, a huge shift from the industrial and natural aesthetic of the previous areas. To the left of where I arrived, I found a path to the hut of a blacksmith. He offers to refine my nail, which has already been cracked and dulled ever since my arrival in the kingdom, but unfortunately, I'm broke. During a battle with a husk sentry, I discovered a mechanic that isn't that likely but is pretty satisfying to pull off. Parrying. A parry happens when 2 attacks collide, usually from a melee weapon. On the next screen was a statue of a skinnier false knight and 3 ghosts or something. This encounter isn't that important, but one thing that caught my eye was the sentence, Seek the graven ash and the mark it would grant to one like you, which just seems way too poetic to not mean anything. I continued along the upper right path from the elevator, defeating different types of guards. Small, huge, flying, and flying with a lance for some reason. Soon I retreated though and upgraded my nail to increase its damage. And continued to not check what this sign is pointing at, eventually dying to one of these things. Oh, hello, Quirrell. As I was trying to get back to my shade, I realized that I can check out the statue in the heart of the city. Inspecting the statue showed me a memorial dedicated to... What? So the thing from the beginning cutscene is the Hollow Knight, and the thing I'm playing as... isn't? Nah.
Like, the City of Tears isn't even that big of an area. I don't know how I'm getting lost.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I managed to get through this part of the tower, opening a door that circled back to a previously locked path. I then went up the upper path, freed this grub, and saw a sign marking a bench. In pursuit of that bench, I was locked in an enemy gauntlet, which I cleared without getting hit at all. In the upper room, I found Cornifer and proceeded to not unlock the thing that I literally came for. What am I doing? After entering a suspicious-looking door, I was introduced to a special part of the City of Tears. And I was immediately locked in here with a new type of enemy. An enemy that will very much cause a lot of pain. This is a Spell Twister. An enemy that can harness the power of both Soul and the Infection, and launch it at you as a semi-homing projectile. This enemy has a few things that make it annoying. As aforementioned, its projectiles are slightly homing, it can teleport, and lastly, it's a flying enemy.
Okay, that was actually not as difficult as I thought it was.
Welcome to the Soul Sanctum, an area built upon the research and practical usage of soul. Inside this place are jars full of pure soul, and alongside that, the physical manifestation of mistakes and failures of the bugs in this part of the city can emerge from the ground and attack you. These blob things kinda look a bit like the Soul Twisters, which led me to believe they're reanimated corpses of them. Now, I don't want this part to be all speculations because I am incredibly horrible at theory crafting. But this lore tablet told me that the bugs here hope to attain a pure focus. So I assume that what they were trying to do was to focus soul into a physical form, with the mistakes likely being the corpses or husks of those who couldn't manage to do so and lost some part of themselves. Similarly to the knight, they probably couldn't do it infinitely without a way to replenish it, explaining the soul containers, but the infection must have helped them bridge that gap. Anyways, this is a playthrough, not a theory video. Moving on. I continue to journey deeper into the sanctum. Oh sh! This is the Soul Warrior, who is arguably my favorite enemy in this place because he uses a weapon and he's not constantly moving away from me. I mean, he still teleports, but he does it to close the gap right after. I had to really lock in during this fight due to my skill issue and not being able to find an opening to heal. But unfortunately, that locking in meant absolutely nothing. That bench would have been really useful if I actually bought it. On the way there, I decided to take the same path even though I already pulled the lever that makes it way shorter. And once I got back to the Soul Sanctum, I proceeded to get stuck in the elevator shaft. I hope being completely unaware of your surroundings was worth almost losing all of your Geozen. Eventually I did realize that I'm the smartest person to ever live, and I finally got back to my shit. It seemed like this time I was ready though, because I was doing the fight hitless for a bit, and eventually with one mask left, I killed him. After committing a genocide against Soul Twisters and an entire generation of mistakes, at the end of this room I found the charm Spell Twister, which reduces the amount of soul required to use. Hey, what the hell? Dude, why is it back? I still haven't bought the bench! Eventually I decided to finally use my brain and find out why the bench icon here is gray. I'm suffering more writing this than I did in the playthrough, and that pisses me off. Soon after I collected enough money and bought the bench, I went to retrieve my shade and lost it immediately afterwards. I then came back, took a huge risk, and died with my shade watching the entire thing. I then returned yet again, killed every living being in the room, and opened the easier path through it, which I hopefully won't forget this time. After getting through that hell, I continued down the path to the left, and once I saw that there were 3 soul jars right in front of me.
Wait, I don't have to heal. What am I doing? There's a boss here. There's a boss here. No doubt.
When I walked into the arena, I heard the door shut, and I saw a figure arise ominously from the distance.
Soul Master, okay.
This boss seemed like a bigger soul twister, some sort of elite out of the many. His attacks weren't really that crazy at first, but once I tried taking an opportunity to heal, that attack must have hit me hard in the head because I started getting hit by the dumbest things after that. The overhead dive attack is a pretty big problem because it brings one of my many weaknesses with bosses: shockwaves. And even when I thought the attack was just a matter of reaction, I learned he can feint it. On my way back, while I did remember to take the straightforward path rather than getting hit with 3 heat-seeking middles aimed directly at my skull, I also decided to go back to the room where I got Spell Twister for the 3rd time, and this time it was fatal. I then got killed by a mistake, and when I finally got to the boss who didn't do his intro this time, despite my feet being glued to the ground, I managed to stagger him. And did absolutely nothing because I thought this was a phase transition.
Second phase. It's definitely a second.
I then got the most reasonable punishment for not taking advantage of a stagger by getting flattened.
Oh my goodness, I'm supposed to get hit. Hold on. Let me just kill this boss and then we can play some. Oh, I did it. Wait, you spell?
After breaking the glass beneath us, he began to repeatedly dive into the ground.
Oh, he came back to life.
The background revealed the mountain of unfortunate bugs whose lives were taken to contribute to the Sanctum's experiments, most in vain since they turned into mistakes. And eventually, the Soul Master went down, spewing out the infection before finally being released from its clutches. Alongside the infection, the soul of the slaughtered emerged too. Collecting the bundle of souls granted me a new spell.
Desolate Dive.
Which I couldn't figure out how to use for like 3 minutes because I didn't read that you had to hold down. And then spent another minute walking around aimlessly because I didn't realize that the floor here was fragile. When I figured that out, I proceeded to die in a pit of more corpses. Once I exited the storage of horrors, I searched the area for more breakable floors and then died. Eventually though, I got back to the previous bench and found Zote the Fraud again. After defeating the Soul Master, I found a lift, which I couldn't afford, along with a stag station, which I also couldn't afford. Wonderful! Soon I gathered enough geo to pay the lift toll and went up, leading me back into the Forgotten Crossroads. Surprisingly, I remembered that this same elevator was blocking my path to the left, and I headed in that direction. After clearing out the area of common bugs, I found a vessel fragment, and just ventured around the area until I found a hut. Inside of the hut I found Salubra, the charm lover, a vendor that exclusively sells charms and charm notches. But I unfortunately had to window shop here because I am broke. While I was down here, I decided to look for areas that I haven't yet explored in my map. I also noticed that at the Temple of the Black Egg was an icon with a similar shape to the Hollow Knight. The other one. I then decided to go to the mineshaft area with the bright pinkish glow. As I went toward the right, I saw Mila below me. But rather than gleefully singing, she's just standing there. When I went to check up on her, she was, well, still rhyming, speaking of a darkness that she was surrounded by, with the crystal she's mining being the only light that can keep it away from her. She's falling apart, and her lifeless eyes are tinted with the same orange of the infection. She doesn't even realize that I'm here. Maybe the darkness that she's talking about is the one within my shell, and the light that she wants to escape to is the infection. It would make sense since light and darkness are on completely opposite ends of her. If I wish to save her, I have to free her of the infection. What am I talking about again? When I used the lift, I found an unstable floor and dived into it. The Crystal Peak is a huge mine shaft within Hallow Nest, where pink crystals are littered around in barrels or in clusters. Enemies with crystals growing out of them are present, as well as conveyors. However, weirdly enough, some of the conveyors are sending the crystals directly to the bottom, so I'm not sure how they're Is that Mila?
This one ain't friendly.
That could not have been Mila. Simply because there's no way she got here before me. Considering the fact that I had to climb up most of the area, I feel like I'll eventually find some sort of crystal peak. I'm sorry. After doing a bit of Mission Impossible-ing, I found Cornifer, who confirmed my suspicions that this place has a summit. I bought his map for 112 Geo and continued until I saw a bench sign. I followed the sign into this screen, where I politely asked this guy to scooch over a bit, to which he responded by trying to eviscerate me. But he was kinda easy to fight. Oh, he's still alive. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite me later. Now that I had the bench all to myself, I explored more of the area, going further up and finding Quirrell, basking in the view of what I presume to be Dirtmouth because of how high I am. After that, I found a screen with a small platforming challenge. While I was trying to clear it, I eventually got down to one mask and went back to get Soul from the most dangerous room to do so, and to no one's surprise, I died.
Let me join you real quick, actually.
After getting my shade, I completely forgot what I was doing, and then died and started walking around killing things. After 25 minutes, I got back to the platforming screen, and about halfway through it, I managed to lose nearly all of my masks in less than 10 seconds. Going back would have been a risky choice, so I decided to try and fluke the... Wow. The fourth time I actually managed to do it. On the other side of a bridge was a giant metal body. Upon reaching into its core, I consumed its crystal heart.
Oh!
Doing so granted me the super dash, which allows me to endlessly fly through the air unless I'm interrupted by a wall or an enemy that doesn't get killed by it. Once I got the crystal dash, I decided to check what was ahead of where I found Cornifer. After getting past, I found an elevator that led me back to Dirtmouth, and then immediately lost it.
Oh. Oh. That sucks.
I then did a bit of shopping, before visiting the Grub Father, and realizing that saving the grubs doesn't only reward me with good karma, but also with actual stuff. Whilst I was fighting this big guy, he opened up a secret entrance, and conveniently enough, getting into this gap required the crystal dash. I entered this screen with a bunch of aspids, and upon realizing there were spikes on top of one of the entrances, I knew a gate was gonna close on me, so I left. On second thought, let me just go back. So I came back to the aspid infested screen, ready to do a bit of extermination.
Oh, that sucks. Okay. Oh, it's Dirtmouth, not Dirtmouth. Okay, but...
After about 7 attempts, I managed to get through the gauntlet and found a new charm. Glowing Woo. Yeah, I've never used this in my entire life. I then took a short trip back to Sly and bought another vessel fragment. It was the last one I needed and it gave me extra space for storing soul. Now at this point I had no idea what to do next. I took a detour through an area called the Fog Canyon, leading me to a lower part of Green Path.
What the?
And in this part of the area I found a bench and saw multiple different paths I could take. I took the left path where I freed a grub and opened a chest full of Geo, but once I got here, things got south. You see, I sucked ass at pogoing at the time, so I was not making much progress here. Okay, to be fair I was, but I panicked. As I was walking back to my shade, I fell down and encountered...
What are you? Oh!
Massive Moss Charger, who is by far the most difficult boss I've encountered so far. Not only are his attacks completely unavoidable at times, but he's also huge as sh**. The only saving grace I had was that the area was open, so I ran out, refilled on soul, and went back to try and take down this behemoth. Somehow I was avoiding his attacks and actually getting some good damage in, and I guess I reached flow state because eventually, the beast fell, revealing itself to have been just a bunch of these little guys in one moss-covered pseudo-host body. After leaving the room with my hands shaking like never before, I went ahead and couldn't find my shade anywhere around. So I tried to go forward without it and ended up dying. After managing to find it this time, I died again. I then decided to go back to the Fog Canyon and explore there a bit. My exploration was then quickly halted by a wall of darkness that I could not get past. But Cornifer somehow did, because I can hear him and I see a piece of paper on the other side of the wall. How did he get there? After dying, I decided to go down to the Mantis village once more, where I found 3 mantis upon thrones. Not wanting the smoke right now, I decided to walk past them and... just make it quick. These are the Mantis Lords, the presumed leaders of this tribe and pretty fierce warriors who see combat prowess as a rite of passage. Hence why they didn't let me go through that door. Hold on a second, why do they have the same head shape as the Hollow Knight? The one on the middle throne attacked in 3 ways, lunging across the entire arena, throwing her lance at me, or trying to crack my skull open like a damn oyster. While I was playing safe to avoid dying, I did mess up, so I decided to make my way back, taking a quick pause to collect a mask shard. Also, one thing I noticed on my way back is that the Mantis tribe is full of straight up demons! When they die, they release white particles, meaning that they're not infected. They're just like this. The fight was going very slowly, but smoothly. I was dodging pretty well, despite having somehow forgotten that I have an actual dash since my brain just starts not working when I'm fighting a boss. And I was getting some pretty good hits in while the other 2 Mantis Lords were looming over me like they're gonna tag in or something. Eventually I got down to 1 mask and started panicking, causing me to throw yet again. Once I got back, I realized that this fight might just be payback for all the stuff I did here, because I did invade their territory, kill a lot of the people, and steal from them. On this attempt I managed to take down the middle one, and just as I expected... Wait, I need to fight both? Okay, in all honesty I thought I was just gonna fight one at a time, but I guess not. This is a lot more chaotic, but at least I can get a really good window for healing when they do this move. Alright, second one down, I just have to not fuck up. I'm f***ing up. Nice, the last one's down. We cannot be serious. Oh. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's see what's behind this door. I'm just gonna ignore all of that. Welcome to Deep Nest. On the first screen I found Cornifer, but rather than humming, he was trembling. He encouraged me to leave if I was not well prepared, but I bought his map thinking that it can't be that bad. Deep Nest is a dark, hazard-infested network of caves, where instead of music, you have the very close, ever-present scuttling of the myriapods below. Alongside the ones at the bottom, awaiting any moment where you fall to give you a painful embrace with their claws and fangs, there are also stealthy ones ready to pounce when you least expect it, hoping that a clueless prey would be an easy prey. There's also small, infection-spitting arachnids, and giant centipedes, making sure you know how to respect their space, acting more like environmental hazards than enemies because you can't kill them. Deepnest is a hazardous place that knows how to keep you on your toes. The floor breaks beneath your feet. The darkness hides traps. Anytime I had to go down, I would hug the nearest wall like it was hugging me back. I mean, there were probably things in there waiting to violently do so, but let's not paranoid young Zen more than he already is. Eventually, after dealing with a huge network of caves where I occasionally had to actually trust the breaking floor would take me somewhere, I descended deeper into the nest and ended up... Thank everything! On the right side of the bench was a screen with more of those huge indestructible centipedes, and I then found a room that I thought was compulsory. I then spent 10 minutes dying and returning here before I decided to move on. I said screw my shade and went to the left path this time. I was really shocked when I got here to see common bugs from the Crossroads this deep into this infested place, but when I killed one of them and moved on, I heard scuttling. I didn't think much of it though because I thought it was just from the background. Eventually I heard a grumpy, familiar voice looming over me once I entered this screen. How did you get here? So I decided to try and find a way to get to him, leading me to some small piece of the ground above me that looked out of place, and after hitting it for a few seconds expecting something to happen, I left it for a bit, and found out that the scuttling from before wasn't just background noise. I think now is a great time to mention that I'm mildly afraid of spiders. I unfortunately don't have footage of my reaction to this, because my microphone was acting really weirdly in some of the recordings, but I know for a fact that this gave me a heart attack nearly. I decided to go back to the same platforming bit from earlier and eventually got through it only to realize that there was nothing here. Oh wait, secret room. Never fucking mind. So, how the hell do I get out of here? I have an idea. Okay, that didn't work. Why am I trying it again? Well, I'm just gonna go back to the left and see if there's anything I can try when I'm in the hot spring. Holy hell, why? At some point I found a sign for a bench, and for the first time ever, getting there was my top priority. On the way there, I misinterpreted a sign, pointing in the other direction as the sign that was leading me straight to the bench. This led me to this thing, which pops out the small centipedes like nobody's damn business. I then killed the ones blocking my way and continued into a broken tram, opening a door leading to another set of these things. It was here that I learned that these things can climb, and went into an abandoned tram where I found a tram pass. After that, I started going the other way where I found a defeated cloth. Not defeated in battle, but mentally. She came into these lands expecting a challenge and a test of strength, but was met with hostility that was more terrifying and beastly than exciting. Even for a warrior of her strength and stature, this place has proven to see its visitors more as prey than opponents. She decides this is no place to die. After all, what death for a warrior is that at the hands of hungry, ferocious beasts? Better to die as a fighter than a victim, am I right? Beside her was the bench I was looking for, which she'd be free to take a seat on rather than on the ground full of remorseless predators. After doing all that, I had enough of Deepnest, and chose to escape back up to the fungal wastes. I feel like from here, the best thing to do would be to go to that open part of the map near the Mantis Lords. There's probably something there which Okay, let's try this again. Wait, the whole tribe respects me now? Okay, they still attack in self-defense, fair enough. I'm just so thankful that the flying ones are just dormant now, and I will never again have to deal with those things. I finally got to the room I mentioned earlier, and in there I found a bunch of Geo, a Hallowness seal, and a new charm which I put on and kept for a very long time. Mark of Pride, which increases my nails range by a lot. I then resurfaced and took a look at what Izelda was selling, where I saw a tram pin. I bought it because I assumed the trams were the next thing I had to check out, and thankfully there was one on the far right of the Crossroads. I then bought a mask shard from Sly, giving me an extra one, and went to the tram I just mentioned. Once I got there, I inserted my tram pass and sent it off to who knows where. The tram took me to an unfamiliar area, similar to the Crossroads but devoid of any color or life, resembling more of a large cemetery than a place of refuge or exploration. I kept moving forward though, waiting to find anything of value here, and soon I got trapped by 3 statues. I then realized that these are the same faces I saw on the memorial and after defeating Hornet. Right after, they spoke once more, asking what compelled me to return to this kingdom, to ascend from the darkness. I had no idea what they meant. I didn't even know if the accusations were mine or of another fallen being, probably the one whose cloak I'm currently wearing. But they questioned what called me here before speaking of seals that cannot be undone. Never mind, that must be undone. Before I can stand and face them, they appear before me yet again and once again send me straight to bug heaven or something. I genuinely don't know what's happening, but I am in the air. I then woke up, fell, and woke up again. I tried every way to get somewhere, besides waiting in place like I'm supposed to do. At some point I paused, waiting to see the light that appeared each time I fell. A moth. It paved the way forward. Little dream catchers formed in the air, and small platforms were floating in the distance. I listened to this guiding light who told me I was casted into a space between body and soul, a dreamlike place. I was then presented with a choice: live in eternal slumber, or cut my way out of it. My choice was made, and I took the shining blade. The Dream Nail. When I woke up, for real this time, I saw another moth, a more calm and alive one. I took a second to test out the Dream Nail before listening to the seer. The Dream Nail is said to be special, able to cut through the veil separating reality from dreams, a weapon that could even wake those who slumber to seal the great evil. The blade has dulled over time though, but it can be restored with the help of the seer through essence, fragments of light that make up dreams, rarely present in those who wander in waking only to survive, but flowing in those whose souls yearn for peace, as they were put to sleep earlier than they had ever expected. The area where I met the dreamers now revealed its color and its name. The first thing I noticed were these trees. I've seen them in various places around Hallow Nest, but I never really found out what they did. But after using the Dream Nail on them, I finally figured out their purpose. After collecting a bit of the essence within the room, I headed towards the stag station since I'm likely gonna revisit this place quite a bit. Funnily enough, I missed Cornifer, so I'm gonna have to visit Dirtmouth for the map of this area. Anyways, I finished collecting essence and had a hunch that one of these graves had a secret within them. A couple of seconds later, my hunch was proven correct. I went down a network of tunnels and got killed by a fat mummified bug. After just opening a new path to the City of Tears lift, I went to the nearby screen and found a spirit who seemed pessimistic, to say the least. This is Zero. According to him, during his life he fended off the infection with his blades. But soon something took over him and he turned his weapons towards the king, and I presume he was promptly executed and buried here, leading to his soul adopting a pessimistic and nihilistic view on the thought of hoping for change or escaping the kingdom. To grant him peace, I turned my weapon at him. This boss wasn't that difficult because of how open the arena was, and the fact that if I fell off it, I presumably wouldn't lose anything. Soon he shifted into a second phase, wielding 4 nails rather than 2 and launching them at a faster rate than before. I did unfortunately die to him while trying to heal, but I came back and killed him. Again. Technically not actually. After the battle, he realizes that he was a fool, not for hoping for change, but for raising his nail at the king. He allows himself to be at peace, knowing that the knight can hope and tread forward. 100 essence? That's literally the amount I need, let's go. I went back to the seer and she complimented my speed and seemingly effortless gathering of the required amount of essence. And she then gave me a Hallowness seal and a new goal, 200. I need to find out what Hallowness seals are for eventually. I then went back to Dirtmouth and talked to the spirit of the gravedigger there, and when I came back the next day, I went back to the Grubfather, who gave me a new charm, Grub Song. I then spent about 34 minutes walking around each area that I've unlocked, trying to find something new, and when I felt like all was explored and I was going nowhere, I decided to go back to Deepnest, and explore past the point where I gave up on the right path. On my map I saw a tram in Deepnest, on the opposite side of the failed tramway that I was just at, funnily enough. So I made my way there past these giant centipedes and eventually got to the tram. This tram took me to an incredibly dark and lifeless area. Another one this time. Here I am now in the ancient basin. An area with a mix of fossilized rocky ground and shiny metal structures. There was clearly some sign of advancement or development made in this area. I then bought a bench near a huge spike gap and just didn't go across it, and eventually found Cornifer. After descending a tiny bit, I found a lore tablet which told me that beyond this grand branded gate is the refuse and regret of the pure vessel's creation, and that the place shan't be entered. What the hell is a vessel? Is the Hollow Knight a vessel? Am I a vessel? Okay, this is getting confusing. I then went to the less metal covered hole to the left of the tram, stumbling upon a new enemy, and a grub. There was one more path I hadn't checked out yet, aside from the one beyond the gap, and when I went there I had a long and arduous fight with some City of Tears guards, who are here for the love of the game, I guess. Oh, that's why they're here. Okay, makes sense. After climbing some wooden platforms, I re-entered the City of Tears on a side that I couldn't reach at first. This side of the City of Tears was much more maroonish than blue, thematically separating it from the rest of the area, and the Soul Sanctum as well. Also with more intricate designs on jars and windows. Let me see what's on this side. Okay, let's go back to the ancient basin. That thing genuinely took an entire minute to kill, and I'm avoiding these things for now. Yeah, I spent the next few minutes fighting these things because they actually do give a pretty good amount of geo. I then found the King's Station, which in my eyes kinda showed that the Queen was much more in touch with natural constructs and areas than the King. I wonder why. I then headed to the station and... yeah, I'm going back to the ancient basin. I just found out I can go further right from here. I'll do that later though. I took a quick look at my map and realized there's still a way beyond the bench that I left. On the way down I found a secret room with a fountain, and without realizing I threw my entire life savings into it. Now I was broke, and to rub salt, lemon juice, and alcohol on the wound, the enemies here only drop 2 geo. I'm gonna fucking cry. So I crystal dash over the hey, wait. You gotta be fucking kidding me. So I crystal dashed over the rest of the gap and reached a new part of the ancient basin. The first thing I noticed was a jump that I couldn't clear and a pit. I went down the pit and saw a bunch of little infection bugs running from me, before realizing that I'm not leaving here the same way I came in. In the next room I found a fat, infection-spewing, fountain-like thing, which I didn't like looking at all. And the next one I saw was on the damn ceiling. Then they just kept alternating between ceiling and ground. I got past them and saw yet another organism made entirely out of infection, this time a flying one, that somehow drops geo despite materializing in thin air. Anyways, I spent a bit of time walking around this room and went left into corpse. Turns out I walked into a boss arena.
Freaking out. Am I gonna fall through the ground or something?
Oh, so I am a vessel. This is the broken one, who I guess is a sibling of mine. And then it started summoning those flying things, which got me hit twice because I was focusing on them rather than the boss. And eventually it started furiously head bobbing, which ended up killing me. Oh, that is a to run back. So I prepared my charm loadout, went back to the arena, and started fighting Broken Vessel. As I said before, it's not that difficult to fight him. I mean, occasionally he does jump on top of me and the head bobbing attack feels like an actual bullet hell to dodge, but as long as I don't get scared and assume that I'm safe in a corner, I can beat this boss. When I came back this time, I decided to check what was on the right of the arena, revealing why the arena and this screen are connected to the map. On the map, goddamn. Now that the run back was shorter, I could now do this fight more riskily. This fight was also one where I was actually given enough time to think and actually remember that I have a dash that I can use during boss fights. Eventually I got really low and decided to heal. Just give me 2 for flinching at this point, bruh. Yes sir! Flawless victory! Oh. You're free now, brother. I continued past the arena after the wall of blobs opened up, and at the furthest edge I found a new ability. The Monarch Wings, which allow me to jump in midair. With this new upgrade, I managed to reach places that once seemed unreachable, and I also remembered this one place that I couldn't reach because it was too high. And in the room I found the palace grounds. As I walked across, I saw a corpse oozing up black substance. I tried attacking it to wake it up, but it seemed dead and its armor wouldn't let me in.
Wait.
So I tried another way to wake it up and...
Knew it.
Barrier. 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 Anyways, I decided to check out what was further right, since I could actually take the tram in the same direction again, and got to a new area where I found these centipedes yet again, alongside bees.
Oh, those are bees.
And a giant fly, or at least I think this is a fly. Eventually I got to this room with a bunch of acid, and continued upwards until... Okay, now the game is just mocking me. I reached another area where I found more City of Tears guards. Why am I not surprised at this point? I don't know. Okay, my visit was shortly interrupted though, since I found a glowing entrance in the wall, climbed up and found a lady hysterically laughing like a little kid. What gives you joy in such dire times, madame? Everyone around me cast me out and now they're dying. Oh. From this lady I learned that I'm back at the City of Tears, and that this maroonish part is the upper class area. Eventually I found the actual King's Station, and the stag opened up about the stag nest. It's home before being sent on duty, its place of birth and upbringing, which he completely forgot, but is actively remembering each time it explores a new part of Hallownest. From here, despite having 3 different areas I could go to, I don't know what to do next. And I spent the next 10 minutes walking around aimlessly until I made my way back to the forgotten Crossroads and was met with a pretty unpleasant surprise. Good to know! Damn! The infection has now seeped to all areas of the Crossroads, changing all of the creatures into grotesque, monstrous, explosive, and much more dangerous versions of themselves. Except for these little guys, because they're already as dangerous as they need to be. I ended up dying to one of these things and getting sent to— Oh, come on! Hey, at least the hot spring is fine. What's up? So I took a bit of time to look for other places that were too high to reach before, and I remembered one in the Crystal Peak. So I went there and now I'm getting the consequences of my actions in the form of several beams of pure concentrated light sent straight into my skull. At least this time I sat on the bench. Now I know I said that Crystal Guardian was easy, but that was mostly because I had ample opportunities to heal. And while it's kinda not really, not at all, the same with Enraged Guardian, losing 2 masks from just one hit gives my brain the immediate thought of healing is not worth it anymore. Now the next attempt I was actually cooking until I timed the jump late and died. Minor setback. And another. And another. And another. You get the point. Soon! I genuinely am just gonna keep that in the actual fucking video because what the hell was that voiceover? I mean, that fucking... Soon enough though, I found that if we're both right near the right wall, with me being the closest to it, he can't aim for This method wasn't exactly abusable since it was countered by him literally moving anywhere but this area, but it did make the fight a lot easier, and after a few more attempts I ended up defeating him. And he is not coming back this time. After collecting the mask shard, I went back to Dirtmouth and bought the elegant key from Sly, even though I had no damn clue where I can use it. When I got back the next day, I freed the gravedigger's soul, and went to check on Myla. Considering all of the chaos that made its way through the Crossroads, I gently jumped into the hole, and was immediately approached by Myla, and once I saw her orange pupils, I knew I had to free her, to make her lose the light in her eyes. And in her body.
Sad to see you go, bro.
I then took a trip to this part that I haven't explored yet, and found out that the Crystal Guardian was a father to many. But before going further, I left and got my shade back. In this screen, I found an essence tree, collected all of the surrounding essence, and found a grub in a very narrow and confined cave. I then found an upper path, where I did die, which I'll come back to later after I save this grub. That is not a grub. Editor Zen here. I don't know what the hell is happening here, or why it's happening at all. I'm very confused. Eventually I found from some cool sources, Relia, that there are other things I didn't find in the first area, which includes a charm that increases damage when I'm on one mask, a geopile at the other side of the path of progression, and a whole new area above that. This is the Howling Cliffs. These are the Howling Cliffs, where I descended to the beginning of the game. Damn, that was like 13 hours ago. The Howling Cliffs is not only an area where everything dies in one hit, but where the same street lamps from the Dreamnail obtainment sequence are also found. Interesting. At a lower part from where I arrived, I found a hut. Living inside it was Nailmaster Mato. Mato's a pretty cool guy who not only recognized my stature as a fierce warrior, but also acknowledged the pain that I endured to get here. He accepted me as his pupil and allowed me to learn his nail art. Cyclone Slash. Now that I've learned the nail art, Oro knows the feeling that his master had when passing down his teachings, and has verbally adopted me as his child. Yay. After testing out my new ability, I decided to Dreamnail him, and found out that he has a distant brother in a green kingdom of thorns, who he misses a lot. Maybe I can try and reunite them. Oh, he has two brothers. Family reunion is coming soon. If I can find his brothers, that is. I then found a warrior dream, Gorb. Gorb had only one attack, which was to shoot spines out of his cranium in every direction. Despite that not seeming that bad, as the fight goes on he starts to do it more times before pausing. I got impatient. Eventually Gorb went down and his final words allowed me to formulate a perfect description for him. Full head, empty mind. Never mind, I guess he must have been hit in the head when he died. Explains why the head of the statue is missing a chunk. Soon after that I found Cornifer and bought a map of the area. On the next room, yeah, it's become apparent that the next thing I should buy from Sly should be the Lumafly lantern, because I've seen about 4 of these dark ass rooms across Hallownest, and I need to find out what's in them. I then found an essence tree and collected from it, where one of the fragments I found led me to a breakable wall with the lore tablet that I didn't read at all, and then actually read. So this tablet is basically telling me that this is the edge of Hallownest, and any bug who decides to take the futile journey across has to let go of their memories and thoughts from their time in this kingdom, essentially turning them into mindless beings, endlessly walking for a purpose unknown to them. But with no mind to think, they continue until they succumb to their starvation and wounds caused by the harsh winds blowing from beyond, eventually ending with them not feeling or thinking during their slow death, since the part of them that they left in Hallownest is the only part of them with a mind that could make it stop, and they're eventually swallowed by death in the absence of thought, granting them a death that wouldn't matter since they were never truly alive without that part of them. Why is there so much essence in this room? I then tried making my way towards the wind only to realize that I'm way too light to actually go through. Or you could say that I'm hollow. Okay, bye. I then tried to save a grub and ended up... Okay, maybe I can go back up and get the grub. Where am I going? Oh. Yeah, I lied. I went back to the seer, and once she saw that I had the required amount of essence, she proceeded to break one of the biggest rules of her tribe. They are waiting beyond the grave for you now. So I went into the glade, listened to what the guardian had to say, and immediately tested her. Yeah, I'm accepting my fate. When I got my shade back, it turned out that Revek forgave me for my murder attempt. So I decided not to f around and find out again, and take the next 3 minutes to walk around and listen to the spirits of the glade. Some of them gave advice, some told stories, some said threats, but all of them were really cool to look at. My favorite one was probably this one. I then remembered the branded door in the ancient basin and decided to go to this area and see if I might find it. Welcome to Kingdom's Edge, where it is literally raining men. This area is a white, snowy wasteland that is the home to some of the tankiest enemies in the game, as well as Satan's greatest soldier, the Primal Aspid. The Primal Aspid is, well, an aspid that shoots a spread of 3 infectious spit bullets rather than the usual 1. This thing has a flight pattern that is pain to deal with. It won't stop following you once you're caught in its line of sight, and I don't have enough experience in bullet hell games to consistently dodge its attacks. After a bunch of going up, I found another one of these walls of darkness and went further up into the area and encountered this thing. I ended up dying to it, and I swear on everything am I blind to benches. I then found Cornifer, and this is a huge area. So I decided that I'm gonna see what's on the upper path that I died to first, because I am not going all the way back to that thing that just killed me. I first checked why this narrow path was cut off. Acid. I then went further up, failed to find a secret bench, and walked onto a frigid path which led to Hornet. As I went down, I saw some gigantic tube-like structures and was confronted by her. Not really, I just wanted to check out what was here. Immediately, strong winds started blowing from the east beyond, and with Hornet's voice echoing in the flow, it was time for one more battle. To prove myself worthy to uncover the truth behind something. This is the second battle with Hornet, where she is much faster, much more aggressive, and can also parry attacks. And on my first attempt I got my ass whooped because of stick shift.
Bro, my controller was fucking out though.
I think I should go find that hidden bench. Or not, I guess. Your choice then. I was genuinely cooking this time and even managed to stagger her. I then went for a really stupid heal attempt, and now one mistake means death. I wouldn't say that was a mistake because I didn't know that would happen, but I also wouldn't say that wasn't a mistake because that death was entirely my fault. I then decided to see what was at this bench marked on the map, almost losing 1000 geo in the process, holy hell, and went into this hut where I met Nailmaster Oro, brother of Mato, who unlike his brother, decided to run my damn pockets in exchange for teaching me his nail art. Next he'll charge me for the bench outside 800 geo! Now that I had a spawn point that was closer, albeit more dangerous by a long shot, I went back to the arena to challenge her again. Amazing start. During this attempt, I relearned that the only way I would be able to heal is by being far away from her. And I did have to try healing, emphasis on try because 2 of these heal attempts were interrupted so instantly that I would consider them parries. Yes, I obviously died after all of that. I then equipped... Yeah, that didn't work. I then equipped a combo that is slightly better, and got killed again. At this point I was getting desperate and even considered charms that I feel like would impede my progress in this fight. and I ultimately decided to stick with this loadout, which led to me losing almost 2,000 geo because I chose fight instead of flight. I then got to Hornet and died at literal world record pace, but on the next attempt, something different happened. Hornet threw out traps, suspended in the air, and I had no idea what to do about them, and she ended up throwing out more. I had to do the fight a lot more carefully since I thought these things were here to stay. But when I tried going for a hit on her, I hit one of the traps away, which I don't think I realized. Yeah, I didn't. At some point, I got tired of this. I searched up where the secret bench is and realized that I'm a complete moron. I also checked on what I can do against these traps, even though I accidentally found the solution and could have tried, experimenting. But in my defense, I only got to that second phase twice out of the literal hour I spent fighting Hornet. So now that I got to the bench, I could now start taking more risks, since the run back was now just a small bit of time to get my thoughts together. So I got back to Hornet and started the fight. The fight was going very slowly, which was fine since Fury of the Fallen didn't have to proc at first. Wait, I don't even have it on. She then threw out the traps, which I politely moved if they were in the way, and as she was about to throw out some more...
Yes! Yes! Screw you! Screw you, Hornet. Actually, screw off, Hornet.
I find it funny how once I find something to make the run back less painful, I don't have to do the run back at all. After realizing my strength, Hornet lets me through and I can claim my promotion from Ghost to King of Hallownest. On the road ahead, I found myself inside of a giant cast-off shell. Whatever this thing was either molted or is dead. Regardless, at the end of the Knot Tunnel, I found something that marked me with the King's brand, which allowed me to access Hallownest's gates. But in all honesty, I only had one gate in mind. So you're telling me that the moment I become king, this entire shell just falls apart? Is the crown that heavy?
Oh, damn. Oh. Okay, maybe you're not such a bitch after all, Hornet.
Contrary to what the text said, not all gates of Hallownest are open now. I mean, this is technically a wall, but my point still stands. So I went down into the cavern of the ancient basin, and that door that once blocked my path was gone. Not opened, gone. So I descended for a long while and reached the bottom to find bodies upon bodies upon bodies. Mountains of corpses of my kind, strung out, discarded, left to rot, nothing left of them but their shells. The abyss is... I can't even tell, to be honest. The first thing I did was find a room with howling faces everywhere. Next, I went to check the right side, and as I walked across the path of countless remains, a familiar shadow appeared from the ground. Another did the same, but I knew better than to approach dark figures in the middle of a graveyard. I walked, startled by furious tendrils that spawned from the Black Sea, and was eventually confronted by a huge tower in the center, crowded by shades of all horn shapes and horn sizes. They were all hostile, trying to break me out of my shell so that I can join them in their oblivion, and when I refused, they would retreat just to arise from the ground they fell into. Eventually, I decided that fighting is a waste of time and all I can do is ascend. As high and close as I got, I fell and soon got to feel the wrath of a shade on my shell, relentlessly chasing me. Far stronger than my own shade, yet only approaching with nothing but sheer unrivaled force. I fell back to the bottom, basically left at one mask. With a hostile sea at my right and a swarm at my left, I took time to seal my wounds, fearfully preparing to ascend one more time. I soon realized while trying to fight them in smaller numbers, that hitting them does not give me soul. They are completely devoid of life, with the only intention to hunt down all that doesn't share their emptiness. I reached the top and entered the tower, revealing that this is a lighthouse. For some dumbass reason, after turning the light on, I thought that this window was some sort of capsule. I went back down without checking the side that lit up, and climbed out of the abyss. I went back to the king's station and noticed a hatch on the ceiling. This hatch led to a presumably massive tower crowded with guards and these rich guys. Eventually I got locked into an enemy gauntlet where those aforementioned rich guys managed to kill me by merely existing. I then cleared it, claimed a vessel fragment, and had no idea what to do next. Oh let me check that out. Maybe I'll finally see a dreamer. What I walked into was a huge tower. A tower once again filled with upper class bugs and guards. This tower had a bunch of secrets and other hidden places, including my new grave. After I cleared this, I found a lever that opened this door at the bottom, and ascended into this room with multiple portraits of the different bugs that I have personally slaughtered. And after a bit of climbing, big boy. A lot of big boys. They really waited till my guard was down to shut the door, and what is going on with him? This is the Watcher Knight, a hard-shelled bug with a massive sword. He's not that difficult to deal with since his moves are really well telegraphed. This is another Watcher Knight. I think you see where this is going. Fighting a singular Watcher Knight is not that much of a problem, but add another one to the equation and you get this shit. The real question is, can I kill one before I get killed by both? Nope. Not at all. On my way back, I assumed that the ones that are in the clear front of the group are the ones I actually have to fight. Which is better than the dozen in the arena, but that means I still have to fight 6 if I'm correct. After many heal attempts, I figured out that the boulder shell can actually break if it saves me too many times, leaving me vulnerable on just the first 2 nights. That attempt did not go well. It took about 2 more attempts to finally kill one of them. Yes, one of them. I finally have a singular Watcher Knight crossed off of my hit list, and literally before I got it in frame, another one spawned. After dying, I realized that I wasn't prepared enough for this fight and decided to go get some more stuff first. The first thing I did was go back to Dirtmouth to buy the Lumafly lantern from Sly. I then went to Salubra and bought the Shaman's Stone. My next order of business was to check out the last place I would have gone to where I needed the lantern. Deep Nest. While I was exploring, I ended up finding the last thing I expected to find here. A warrior dream. This is Galleon, the self-proclaimed strongest warrior in Hollownest, and a bug who can't recognize this corpse as his own. He probably never looked in the mirror that much. Galleon is a simple boss, with simple not even closely meaning easy. He only has one attack, which is technically a hazard. Okay, make that 2 hazards. I got my shade back and decided I'll fight Galleon later.
Oh, the way they crawl up the walls is creepy.
I think now is a good time to mention I am mildly afraid of spiders. A bit later I found an essence tree, and while I was collecting, okay, so I'm back. 3 days later. I started to head towards the left of Deep Nest towards the Dreamer, getting betrayed by the floor several times on the way.
You're a...
And I soon reached the distant village, with giant cocoon houses hanging in front of me. In one of them I found... yeah, bye. And in another, where the Dreamer is according to my map, I found the only alive bugs I have ever found in Deep Nest. Considering they were this deep in the area, there was no doubt that they knew where the Dreamer was. But instead of telling me, they kept telling me to rest on the bench. I've been told to not talk to strangers though, so I left. There turned out to be a stag station in the distant village, and since the bench there was broken, I realized that I have to rest in this one at the cocoon. At this one in the cocoon. But before I made my final decision, I wanted to check what was below the village. I was expecting spikes, but was met with... water. If you're wondering why I sighed, it's because now I have to make my way back there. I ended up dying whilst trying to break open a secret passageway, and thankfully, because I opened it before dying... okay, let's see what happens.
Free bench at least. You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be... I don't know what the fuck was awake in there, but
Shit. After that, I woke up in the Beast Den, a small area within the cocoon where every spider-like enemy is present. This is the last hidden spot in Deep Nest and is the place where the Dreamer resides. After a bit of encountering familiar foes, I found an actual bench and the way out. After witnessing, I want to say the fate of the bugs that tricked me, but I don't even know what they were. Anyways, I decided to leave, and once I realized the dream was still somewhere around there, I went back up. I climbed the den, clearing out the pests in my way until I was met with the light, a sleeping beast, put to eternal slumber to prolong the life of the kingdom. Yet her sacrifice is now in vain. The least I can do is set her free from her cage, and hope that she hands her duty and the fate of Hollow Nest to its new ruler. I entered expecting resistance, but was met with silence, acceptance. Hera the Beast released her part in the binding that keeps this kingdom from everlasting freedom. With decisive strikes from my nail, I had awoken her. And absorbed her. One down, 2 to go.
well, that's a W.
Oh hey, it's Hornet. Hera is Hornet's mother. Or I guess was Hornet's mother before the whole eternal slumber thing and me completely eviscerating her from the world of the waking and awoken. It's interesting that neither the mother nor the daughter tried to stop me, but I can't let this mercy and this trust go to waste. I went back to the ancient basin to see if the seal on the White Knight had at least partially broken due to the absence of Hera, but before I could check, something else on my map caught my eye. It was the fact that there was something beyond the lighthouse, and having the path lit already, I went ahead deeper into the abyss. The lower path of this screen was blocked by tendrils, so I was forced to go from above. I found a secret that was blocked by yet another wall of darkness. On the other side I saw a statue of a bug, holding a container overflowing with that same dark ooze below the ground I stand on. With the liquid having been slightly calmed by the light, I chose to seek, I chose to soak in the emptiness. The Shade Cloak is a direct upgrade to the Mothwing Cloak, allowing me to dash through enemies, enemy projectiles, and as I suspected, the darkness itself. In the aforementioned secret area, I found an imprint of Void-given form. In the middle of the lower path, I found an arcane egg, another relic of Hollow Nest's past. Now that I obtained the Shade Cloak, guess what I did first? I bought Oro's nail art. Okay, but guess what I did next? I went through the Shade Gate and found a warrior dream. This is Markoth, who I can't really describe since his first line of dialogue told me enough about his personality. Despite wanting to shove this guy's words up his abdomen, I refused to fight him right now and instead just walked around Kingdom's Edge for a little bit. The reason why I did this was because during my time spoiling small parts of the game, I came across a video by Windet called, and I quote, Markoth. So once I saw his name in the bottom corner of my screen, I immediately had a flashback. But eventually I got bored and decided to fight him. 5 seconds into the fight, I crowned this guy as Zero with a shield, and with a faster way to recall his swords. Markoth is a boss whose body is much more threatening than whatever he throws at you, because once you get close to him, he gets some sort of magnetic field induced onto him and proceeds to ram himself into you multiple times. After taking a bunch of hits, he decided to double his entire arsenal, which kinda makes sense for the swords, since his corpse has 2 of them. But why does he have 2 shields? After that painful death, I had a quick fuck my shade moment, and went to explore more of Kingdom's Edge. I ended up finding my way to the City of Tears, somehow, and went back to the resting grounds to collect a charm I randomly found that immediately reminded me of what my shade is probably dealing with right now. I then visited the seer who gave me a pale ore. I don't know what to do with that. Never mind, I know exactly where to go. After a bit of swimming, I found Tiso, bored by the serenity of the lake, craving action since his purpose is still to find the Colosseum he was talking about. After a bit of time, I found a secret entrance in the non-functional stag station which led back to Kingdom's Edge. I went in the biggest circle in all of Hallownest. I wanted to find out where the bodies were falling from, so I quickly went to get my shade and went to the nailsmith to strengthen my nail. I then got completely sidetracked and went to an area that I couldn't access before. The Fog Canyon is a large, verdant area inhabited entirely by jellyfish with infected cores. I crossed the Shade Gate, got a map of the area from Cornifer, and soon realized that this area is home to a dreamer. There is one specific rule when it comes to the jellyfish in Fog Canyon. If they're small, kill them. If they're big, don't even think about it. The reason for this is because the cores of the big ones are not only explosive, but also slightly homing, meaning that if their host is destroyed, they're beelining towards the next hollow shell they can find, and sadly for you, that is yours. This rule would be enough to protect me in this area if it wasn't for the fact that the explosive cores can be kept in sacks on the ground. The first time I saw that, it scared the hell out of me, and I actually just took a quick 2 minutes to process what happened. And then I came back and did it again. The Shade Gate protecting this area was actually really fitting, because some of the jellyfish will stop at nothing to get in your way. Especially the tall ones, because what are you gonna do? Hit them? Exactly. After a short walk, I found the teacher's archives, with Quirrell standing outside. He was astonished at the thought of a large building atop a lake of acid, but one feeling overshadowed his marvel: familiarity. Atop the lobby of this building, I found a bench where I rested before descending. The building was populated with small jellies and charged lumaflies. The walls were made out of a copper-like metal with a soft green lighting and pools of contained acid. As I delved deeper into it, I found a huge room atop a pool of acid, and at the center of it was a large sack that emerged from the acid and revealed itself to be the guardian of the dreamer, Umu. It doesn't even have a boss scream, what the hell? This is Umu, the largest of all jellies, with complete control of the electricity in its core, being able to charge the air to attack me. Speaking of attacking, I tried doing that first thing, but Umu has a dense protective sack that my nail can't go through. I thought this was simply gonna be a battle where I had to outlast the giant, until Quirrell came down, and once he caught sight of Umu, Quirrell's nail proficiency paired with his speed is enough to penetrate Umu's... I'm just gonna say shell, f this. It's enough to penetrate and deflate Umu's shell, allowing me to... Never mind, he stayed weak for not even 3 seconds. Quirrell, I need you! So now I knew that to clear this fight, I had to let Quirrell create an opportunity for me, and then I go in for damage. This also means that I literally cannot get soul during most of the fight. I mean, I can, but I didn't know that at the time. Quirrell, can you do something? Wait, is he waiting for Umu to go to a platform he wants to stand on? Is that it? After a long while, Umu was defeated, and I descended further down the archives, passing capsules of acid and the toaster at home. Eventually, I got scared.
Wait.
At the time, I'd heard that there's an upgrade that allows you to swim in acid, and I genuinely thought that the only way to get to the Dreamer was by having that upgrade. So I started panicking and trying to go to the other side as I was now, because I didn't want to have beaten the boss just to need another upgrade. After healing one mask, to ensure that I had one last shot after this one, I barely managed to get through this gap using the Crystal Dash. In this room was a large, unbreakable capsule with half a jelly. I assumed it was the Dreamer, so I tried using the Dream Nail and... not even a barrier formed. When I was ready to call it quits and leave, Quirrell arrived. She was what called him here, Monomon, the teacher. A bug who stored and taught all of Hallownest's deepest knowledge and truths. She gave herself to the king to form part of the seal, but to ensure that the seal would remain, she left part of herself, the most important part of herself, with one of her disciples. And that disciple is standing right with me, to give her back her form so the seal can be broken. He told me not to hesitate, that the teacher wanted this to happen, and with her form fully restored, I broke the seal and absorbed her, removing the seal of Monomon, the teacher. One remains. Also, turns out there was another way to get here from the other side. It's called checking if there's a path on the other side. So I decided to explore more of the Fog Canyon and ended up finding a place that was much more like Green Path. Within this place I found an entrance to a cave. In this cave there was an enemy gauntlet where the only enemies that spawned were these things, and that would have been annoying to deal with if they didn't die in a single hit. After using excessive force on creatures that could basically do nothing against me, I found the corpse of a snail shaman. Beside it was a mass of soul, which I absorbed to obtain a new spell. Howling Wraiths.
Oh.
I now had presumably every spell. Once I used the spell, one specific thing immediately came to mind.
Abyss. 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 I have to go to the abyss.
On the way down, I found
The fuck?
this and went into the room I thought of and unleashed my inner... Yeah, I'm not saying that.
Oh.
It's now become known that spells can be upgraded, so I looked up how to upgrade the rest. The first, technically second, spell upgrade that I got was in the Crystal Peaks, within a small part called the Crystallized Mound. After a bit of platforming, I found a snail shaman's corpse and completely destroyed it. That one in the Crystal Peaks made sense since the music already had a bit of a tribal aspect to it with the combat theme of the area. The next one though, didn't make much sense to me, but I already had the item I needed to get there, so yeah. It's in the Soul Sanctum, within a special room guarded by a lock which can be opened using the Elegant Key. Followed by a second Soul Warrior, who I flawlessly defeated. I then found another Shaman corpse.
Okay. Oh. Okay, I think I got the full set now.
Now, since I'm already in the area, I think it's about time to get the final Dreamer, atop a huge tower, with an order of knights guarding them. Compared to the first time I was here, I am much more prepared now, having 4 new things to test out on these guys. So let's find out if this confidence is enough to get me past them.
Oh, he's already dead.
Thank you for believing in me, but the answer is no.
Ah. Okay. Spells are broken. Spells are broken, bro. What the?
After defeating the Watcher Knights, I ascended the tower, passing the Dreamer's fellow Watchers and several statues of it. At the top of the tower, where the bugs washed over the city for a purpose I can't think of, I found the final Dreamer, absorbed them, and removed the seal of Lurien, the Watcher.
What's gonna happen?
With the black egg now unlocked, I can make my way there.
Okay, so I'm assuming I have to go to the Forgotten Crossroads now.
As I was leaving the City of Tears, I found a strange bug by the fountain. Relic Seeker Lem is, as the title suggests, a relic seeker, fascinated in the history of Hallownest and, right now, the Hollow Knight, who he says likely met a horrible end to achieve the goal of his sacrifice. I guess it's time to find out the fate of the Hollow Knight. Lem actually has a shop nearby that I never visited because I just never saw it, so I decided to ascend this elevator and finally take a peek at the services of the Relic Seek. Are you actually kidding me? So I headed back to Dirtmouth and descended for the last time. I entered the Black Egg Temple, where the light spews from, and with the seals broken, the egg was opened.
What the hell? Okay, so there's something screaming in there.
As the name suggests, the black egg is devoid of color internally, a large, dark void where the night met its end. As I walked further, the infection's fumes started to dissipate, and runes marked my path. I rested within the cage, and was granted the ability to know the state of Hallownest. Essentially, I can see my completion percentage now. I approached the Hollow Knight's tomb, unsure of what I'd be met with. I was sealed within the prison by a magical rune. Chains lined the floor, and hanging above me was the chosen vessel himself, who is in fact still alive. Here I was in its presence, sealed within the black egg, its pauldrons hearted and worn down over the perceived eternity it remained bound for. Its nail, cracked and planted into the ground, I saw the same orange eyes of all infected creatures, showing that the same vessel who has been chosen to seal the infection was now overtaken by it. With no other option, I broke the chains that bound the night, one by one, each one reinforced with protective runes, now broken slowly. My goal here was uncertain, but I had faith that breaking these seals would be the best choice. Down it fell.
The Hollow Knight.
The final boss, a dark-cloaked infected vessel, the sworn savior of the kingdom, bound to prolong the kingdom's life but proving that even its destiny was temporary. The Hollow Knight is a skilled wielder of a long nail, although dulled and cracked over time, still sharp enough to deliver dangerously fast blows and counter my attacks. He oozes out orange fumes with every movement, leaking out the light into the kingdom he swore to protect. Okay, maybe I should stop talking shit, I'm gonna die here. Okay, let's try that again. Unfortunately, my next attempt was much worse than the first. I was moving both sluggishly yet riskily. I was getting hit by attacks that I thought I'd adapted to the first time, except one, which I only saw this time around.
Jesus!
Every desperate attempt to heal was interrupted. I was starting to get nervous, and then he shot out infectious bullets from under his cloak. And then he shot out infectious bullets from under his cloak. And then he shot out infectious bullets from under his cloak. And then he shot
Damn!
Yeah, I will do this tomorrow. Tomorrow arrived, and I decided that I want to explore more of this world before I beat the game. I started exploring the infected Crossroads and eventually made my way to the Blue Lake. On the other side of it, I found Quirrell, sat down by his nail gazing at the lake. He's finally at peace, looking back at the marvel that is Hallownest, although the most intriguing sight he's had the chance to witness was the night, and despite no response to his flattery, that's exactly what he likes about him. I felt as though this would be our last encounter, so I chose to sit with Quirrell and look over the still lake. What a nice and subtle way to confirm my suspicion. Damn, that hurts.
No.
Oh, man. My exploration led me to the room where I fought the false knight. I decided to explore a bit and I heard a voice as I climbed. The voice led me to a brittle wall where I found maggots, mourning the loss of one of their own, likely the one that piloted the armor. After killing one of them, and then realizing that these guys are more harmless than pocket lint, I dream nailed one of the dead ones. I was transported into the dream world and followed the path until I entered an arena, where I was met by...
Oh, okay.
This is Failed Champion. Despite my unamused response to his arrival, I quickly realized that this is not False Knight.
Oh my goodness.
Failed Champion is what False Knight would have been if I killed his friend before the fight. He's faster, hits harder, shown by the fact that boulders fall whenever he slams his hammer into the ground. His shockwaves also being as high as I can jump, and also the fact that he does 2 masks of damage. During one of my many attempts that lasted less than 12 seconds, I was reminded of a unique gimmick that False Knight had. His armor does not give soul. And if you didn't know, when you respawn, you have no soul. So I had to start off the fight without being able to heal or use spells. Unless... Now there is one thing I noticed in a YouTube video I was watching. Hitting enemies with the Dream Nail gives you a full heal's worth of soul. And while I did kill one of the only living things in this entire room, I did leave one alive out of pity. So... ignore his pleas for help, he's completely fine. I'm not gonna bore you by detailing every attempt, so... yeah, I give up. Let's go check out the other ones. Yes, I found out that there's more of these rematches from a YouTube video. I'm not proud of it, but I am not dealing with Failed Champion. The next rematch that I got to was that of Broken Vessel, who in his empowered state is known as... Lost Kin isn't that huge of a difficulty spike from Broken Vessel. The only difference is that he's much faster now, and the flying blobs spawn throughout the fight now. I had my hopes up with this fight because I managed to stagger him on my first attempt. This did still take a lot of attempts though, so...
Okay. Oh, yes.
After beating the boss, I got to meet the spirit of the vessel before his shell had broken. With his soul finally freed, I got 400 SO my days.
God damn.
I also got an achievement for getting 600 essence, which was a clear indicator that something cool is gonna come with this milestone.
Kirby didn't tell me it gives me 400.
After getting that much essence, I decided to go for another dream rematch. So I went to the City of Tears, through the Soul Sanctum, and into the heap of countless bodies. This dream realm was a bit different from the rest. It was purple. It was beautiful. After passing the quickest path out of all of the bosses, I had to fight Soul Tyrant was seemingly the middle ground of all of the rematches. He was much faster than his counterpart and the shockwaves of his slams were much bigger. And he really loves orbs now.
Okay.
Eventually I decided to take the fight more slowly. Even though the fight was going really slowly, I was taking way less damage. I decided to stay in the middle as much as I could, until eventually I took a risk and it... There's a second phase, isn't there?
Are we gonna talk about the fact that once I equipped Grub Song, I immediately became decent at this game?
Having been defeated, the Tyrant realizes that the cure to the infection was within the bugs of the kingdom. Unable to think of why the king was opposed to literally siphoning the life force of the kingdom's inhabitants, his soul now rests well, knowing that the kingdom and its ruler are dead, and that he will live eternally within the Dream Nail. 300 essence. Beautiful. After doing all that, I finally decided to revisit the Seer with over 1000 essence. The rewards I got were Dream Wielder, a vessel fragment granting me a second extra storage space for soul, and finally, the power to set a waypoint to almost anywhere in Hallownest and to teleport to it, aka the Dream Gate. After testing it out quickly, I went to Deepnest and found a secret entrance across the critters below, in a room where I found a grub. Proceeding through the path, I found a mirror. Not a mirror. Whatever this thing was, it looked like me, and it was delving deeper into the cave. Perhaps it's some sort of foresight thing, or the spirit of a past player following this path, kinda like Dark Souls or something. Whatever it was, my curiosity was getting the better of me, and I honestly felt safer following this faker than throughout the entirety of Deepnest. As I followed it though, I became more anxious. I broke down a way back, which really didn't help with how scared I was to continue down this path. It didn't help either that the ambience of critters scuttling wasn't present here, almost like whatever I was about to find, the creatures know of it, and it is territorial. While I thought I was still on the path, I was too far into it.
Okay. Okay. Oh no. What the Huh? Oh no.
I think it's a good time to mention that I'm mildly afraid of Nosk. So I died, showing barely any resistance, and took a minute to calm down a bit. From here, I started genuinely spiraling. My brain wasn't too welcoming of the scuttling sounds and mimicking creatures that returned. Even if it is just in one screen, I still wasn't fully calm. To make matters worse, when I died to Nosk, my shade stays in the arena, which already locks me in there before I get to the actual fight. And while I was starting to calm down, ready to get my shade and take a breather before I get there, Nosk had other plans. Even though my brain was still going haywire, I realized that I can hide behind the pits at the sides of the arena. So even though I was losing my shit, I had a way of not losing this fight. I still lost multiple times, but at least I had a strategy now. So once I actually calmed down completely, I went back and found that this boss isn't actually that difficult. The cycle for dealing with him was usually pogo, hide, hit, pogo, hide, hit. You get the idea. And with that strategy, I managed to kill him.
Yes.
After playing around a bit with the mask it used to trick me, and then realizing that it's kinda morbid to be playing with something resembling my own shell, I proceeded to the next room and got a pale ore.
Oh nice, another pale ore.
Before leaving though, I decided to go fight a boss that I had previously left behind, Galleon.
A third one.
Is the head easy?
Yeah, Biss Shriek is powerful. Galleon is able to accept defeat, still holding on to his pride. He trusts that the king sent the knight to test him, and his soul rests knowing his ruler hadn't forgotten him. And with that, I am finally done with Deep Nest. Turns out there's a shade gate in Deep Nest, and beyond it I found the charm Sharp Shadow. Now I'm done with Deep Nest. And I just remembered Markoth. Yeah, spells are crazy. In death, Markoth realizes that he's been defeated, and dead for a while. His soul finds peace, knowing that nothing could catch up to him or find him, except the night, death. After that, Kingdom's Edge was my oyster. I found a big NPC called Bardoon, who told me that the hollow shell I found at the King's Brand was actually the shell of a worm, who transformed into the form now known as the King of Hallownest, or formerly known as the King of Hallownest. I took a look at my map, and at the top of it I saw a marker pointing at the Colosseum of Fools. I know where I'm headed to next. After avoiding several explosions, I was greeted at the entrance by a little fool, who is the only one left alive amongst the ones chained above me. After paying an entrance fee, I was granted access to the Trial of the Warrior, the first of the 3 trials in the Colosseum. I placed my mark and entered the arena. This is the Colosseum of Fools, where warriors test their strength through trials of enemy gauntlets. This is the place where Tiso was headed, yet I'm waiting to see him here. Maybe he's in the rest area, which I did not see yet. I'm gonna have to do a hell of a run back to get here if I die. This Colosseum is the source of the countless bodies falling from the sky. It has enemies unique to this one part of Kingdom's Edge and platforms that can emerge from the ground. But despite this place having shown itself through the rain of bodies I witnessed on the way here, none of those bodies shall be mine. They had primal aspids, it wasn't fair. Oh hey Tiso. After retrieving my shade from its designated area, I took another shot at it. Stop laughing at me, I'm trying my best here. That's it, I'm equipping Grub Song. The Trial of the Warrior isn't that bad honestly, and the only real problems are the primal aspids. It was pretty easy to get used to the enemies exclusive to here. That was until they brought back familiar enemies that went down in one hit. There's a second one? If you don't recall, the main thing that made the Vengefly King easy to fight the first time was the fact that I could go underneath the platform to heal or take a breather, and he couldn't do jack shit about it. But now, I can't go under the platform. After all of that, they decided to give me less space, but of course this wasn't nothing for Kaidzen the Amazing. What the f? After completing the seemingly endless trial, I was awarded with a lot of Geo and a Charm Notch. I talked to the little fool again, paid a much more hefty fee, and was ready to attempt the Trial of the Conqueror. The trial started off rough, introducing 2 new enemies that threw me off and oh hell no, they gave them armor. This is a bit of a problem.
Nice. Oh my goodness. I knew it.
Is it over? Oh, thank everything. I received a pale ore alongside a mountain of Geo, and before going out to upgrade my nail, I wanted to try out the final trial. or at least check out the rewards. Geo and the glory of being a fool. So I'm doing this for the love of the game. Hell yeah! On second thought, I'll come back later. I went ahead and upgraded my nail again. Then I paid a visit to the seer and got reminded that nothing lasts forever. She then gave me an arcane egg. You know, all this time I've been searching up random stuff, but why haven't I searched up anything about these relics? Regardless, I went through a shade gate at the Fog Canyon and ended up in a new area. The Queen's Garden is another verdant area, with metallic architecture and artificial structures littered around. Rather than overshadowing the greenery or being overshadowed by it, both complement each other, helping it be unique amongst all of the other areas of this sort. The shocking thing was that I already bought the map of this place from Cornifer a while ago, without even realizing that this was the place. Within the area I found more mantis, which I'd seen during my attempts of the Colosseum of Fools. Unlike the ones in the fungal wastes, these ones are infected. It's not in fact that they just didn't get the memo from the other side of the family. On the way to a bench marked on my map, I got locked into an enemy arena which I cleared really quickly. I then found two mantis spirits who seemingly died deciding where in the garden to head to first. Sad. I then found the bench I was looking for, and behind me was a great statue of a crowned bug, presumably the king. So this is what he looked like, and perhaps this is where he resides. I then got caught by a bunch of fool eaters, despite not having the glory of the title, collected some essence, and found a way to get from the Queen's Garden to f***ing Deep Nest. All roads lead to Deep Nest, I guess. After flawlessly getting through another gauntlet, I found the grave of the trader's child, and fought the warrior dream Marmu, a warrior who watched over the Queen's Garden, in hope that one day she'll return and teach her how to fly. Marmu, despite being called a warrior dream, is more like a playful little guy, reflected in how she doesn't see this as a fight, but rather as a game. It didn't take long to beat Marmu, and her soul finds peace knowing that she can take a nice nap before the Queen arrives. But the Queen doesn't need to, because Marmu, my dear, you're already flying. After a bit of platforming, I was locked into yet another enemy gauntlet. After casting Fireball about 4 times, something bigger wanted to join the fight.
What are you?
So, because of the dreadful run back to this boss, I decided to put a dream gate near the shade gate, leading to the arena.
Oh. Wrong one. Oh, I'm kinda stupid.
Well, at least I reached the goal she gave us. The seer gazes into the dream nail and says that it's really close to awakening, so she gives me a final goal of 1,800 essence. And a mask shard. I called the stag to leave, but instead was told that he finally found its nest. I've opened enough stations in Hallow Nest to allow my companion to finally reach home. So before heading back to the garden, I gave the stag a chance to see its home once again.
Why the hell?
Here it is, the stag nest, the home turned grave of countless stags, now free from their duties. A region of the Howling Cliffs where they were all born and died, leaving only the last one to carry on their duties. Or perhaps he isn't the last one. After actually placing a dream gate outside of the arena, I was ready this time. Through fighting these lesser mantis, I discovered a way I could fight the Trader Lord. Okay, maybe I should work on my timing a bit. The Trader Lord is one of the Mantis Lords who succumbed to the affection, likely willingly due to their title as a trader, although that could also just be because he separated the tribe and migrated along with them to the Queen's Garden, where they inevitably became mindless, violent husks of their former selves. Trader Lord is a pretty fast boss, who has the same attacks as the mantis that precede the fight. It does have 2 other moves though, throwing out 2 infected spinning discs if you get too far, and an attack that solely explains why there's a shade gate before the fight. The Shade Cloak is not only a necessity for this fight, but it also makes it a lot easier than it could have been without it. This was proven by the few attempts it actually took to take down this beast.
Oh.
As opposed to most arenas, upon defeating the Traitor Lord, only one of the many paths opened, so I headed west and found... Yeah, I have no idea, I'm just going in. Inside, I found a pale, glowing tree that was fast asleep. Once awoken, she revealed herself as the White Lady. She refers to me as one, likely seeing me as one of the many vessels who she's likely met or that she was awaiting. She then gave me a gift, or technically half of one, a white fragment. Before I left though, she tells me about a gendered child, who was given little time with her mother. The child was born from the king's dalliance, or casual relationship, and is seen as a possible ally who I should keep in mind if our paths cross ever again. I hope we can all agree that she's talking about Hornet. After the encounter, I headed back to Green Path, where I found one of the places I couldn't enter before because I didn't have the lantern. I found myself at a temple with a disturbing face on the entrance, the Stone Sanctuary. Here I found a warrior dream with by far the largest memorial statue. Besides Marmu's, but that's technically just the tallest. Regardless, I tried to put down a dream gate, which failed, so I went outside and placed it there before returning to challenge the warrior. This warrior dream seems to be full of fear and madness, aiming to kill me and take out my eyes, so that I may sleep. She's probably done the latter many times to the children that she speaks of, so that they can't see whatever horrible monsters she probably didn't. No Eyes is a dormant warrior, who sings an eerie tune as she summons spirits to attack for her. She's a fearful and avoidant warrior, who teleports away when the danger is too much. As I continued to damage her, more spirits spawned, and she sung louder. She repeats this soft lullaby-like tune. It's all that fills the silence of the arena during the fight. Is this what she sang as she granted the kids the pleasure of seeing no evil? I don't know, but it scared me a lot. I ended up dying and went back. This time, I was more eager to put an end to her singing. She reveals what she feared. What she protected the children from was the light, and her soul finds peace knowing that the darkness came to set her free. Now that I'd reached my goal, I could go back to the seer and possibly awaken the dream nail like she said. But before that, I explored a bit more of Green Path and ended up in the den of... Excuse you. The Hunter is an NPC who recognizes my yearning for violence and chaos, and grants me a way to document my murders in the form of the Hunter's Journal, where all enemies I've slain can be found, as well as some miscellaneous and unkillable entries. Afterwards, I went to the Seer, who said that the Dreamnail and I were ready to awaken. I held the Dreamnail skyward, and soon it overflowed with essence, upgrading into the awoken Dreamnail, capable of breaking through even the most protected minds. Yeah, I know where I'm gonna go next. Before leaving, I checked for any remaining essence goal, and a hefty one was presented with no gifts in return, but rather a title as the Weaver, wielder that her tribe wished for. There was one bug in all of Hallownest that didn't allow me to...
Oh my goodness, okay.
There was one bug in all of Hallownest that didn't allow me to peer into its mind. And now with the awoken Dreamnail, I could finally see the last remnant of this kingdom's former glory. Here I was, confronted by the same bug whose dreams I intruded.
What the fuck?
Defeating the King's Mold opened the gate into a new area. The first thing I encountered here were the wing molds. Small, unkillable creatures who can be used as both platforming objects and an infinite soul glitch. The White Palace is a giant palace, the peak of Hallownest architecture and defenses, an entire place hidden within the sealed dreams of a singular one of its former guards. Pale white potted flowers littered the area, and roots emerged from the endless white abyss below me, likely hinting that the White Lady is the queen of Hallownest, and that the king cheated to create Hornet. Anyways, everything within the area was pure. The void within the night stood out the most amongst everything in the area. Although, the wing molds and king's molds are in fact filled with void, despite giving soul when hid. This makes it seem like a flip from the Soul Sanctum, whereby instead of siphoning soul to be used to grant immortality and power, they utilized void to create new life and to serve the visitors and subjects within the palace. After another face-off with a guard, I found a lever that literally flashbanged me. My curiosity then led me to a special soul totem in the shape of the one who I presumed to be the king. Even though this place was beautiful, I had no clue where to go. However, I soon found the doors that the lever opened and ascended. I reached a room where there were technically living bugs talking. They bowed to me when I approached, which I initially saw as a way of greeting a visitor, before I remembered that I have the king's likeness branded on my forehead or something. Eventually, I found the less welcoming side of the White Palace's design choices. This part of the White Palace is littered with saw blades. I have no idea what the hell is being hidden by all of these, but I guess it's the reason why there's only one room with living beings in it. This entire area is just one giant platforming section. And you guys already know I'm the goat at platforming.
Okay. Damn it.
After finally having flipped both levers, I used the lift and ascended into another platforming section. And finally, after hours of pain.
Okay. How would that...
No, I'm actually so sad. What is wrong with you? Snitch to cut time 21. Physically gets on the game now. Father Pucci, a priest from JoJo who has made in heaven, and he...
I finally got to meet the king, the man who hid within a dream to avoid beholding the fall of his kingdom. Oh f***, he's dead. From his body I collected the other white fragment. Putting them both together formed into the king's soul, which is a charm that takes up 5 notches! Damn! Despite that, it is said that the dream not only grants unlimited soul, but also opens up the way to a birthplace. Yeah, I have no idea what that means. Thankfully, I had one way to find out what that meant. Aside from the YouTuber Raylia, I had another source of information while I played this game. A source that felt much less shameful to use, since I would only be given hints and subtle confirmations to my own assumptions, in the form of, try it. That guide is the person who told me to buy the game, Kirby. Kirby's been on call with me basically throughout this entire playthrough, listening to the things I've been saying, and throughout the time, I didn't really take his help or ask for it. But being so deep into the game by now, I didn't want to use another YouTube video. For the first time during my playthrough, I started streaming my progress to the call, which caused my mic to fuck up even more than it usually did. I was given the following hints.
Statement number 1 is you've been there multiple times, and it's a quite important area. Number 2, it is the only area where you've seen something that you don't see anywhere else.
It took me a few seconds, but the first guess that I made was the Abyss. It's a pretty important area due to the number of upgrades there, I've been there a few times, And most of all, it's the first place where I encountered other creatures made of void. So I descended into the abyss, and the ground sank before me, opening a path. I went into the birthplace, passing many siblings on the way, and after finding an arcane egg, I found a much bigger one up ahead. Unsure of what to do, I tried everything, and even though nothing could break the egg, perhaps that wasn't what I meant to do. No cost too great. Born from the egg, forced to push through the broken shells of my siblings, I had no other way to go except up. The sky above, raining the bodies of my own, what was I climbing for? Would I be the next to tumble to the endless wastes? No mind to think. All I must do is climb. I don't know what awaits, I don't know my reasoning. All I know is I must climb. No will to break. I must ignore the bodies of the failures and those who ascended before me. I can't look back. I can't feel anything for those below, although I wish I could fear the same fate as those falling. All I know is I must climb. No voice to cry suffering. Born of God and void. Despite the arduous climb, even though I ascended through the endless darkness towards the light at the top, one had already been chosen, the pure vessel, the one who will contain the infection, and grant this kingdom its prolonged life. It gazed at the chosen vessel, knowing that even if it pulled itself up onto the bridge, it knows it was destined to spend its existence at the door. It must accept. In fact, what else can it do? We've all seen the curse of the vessels. We've all seen that they are born to be hollow, and discarded if shown not to be. It can't resist. It can't risk. It can't complain. It is not the Hollow Knight. But what if it doesn't have to be? It's shown time and time again that it isn't hollow. There's a mind to think, capable to choose its path, to show compassion, and to tell friend apart from foe. There's a will to break. After every death, something is left behind. A lingering regret. There is a will that led it back to this kingdom, that allowed the vessel to answer the call from their sibling. There's a voice to cry suffering, though never made to speak, never having said a single word. Deep within the endless void within its shell is a small part of it that will never escape. A voice you've heard before, during your playthrough, during my playthrough, during anyone's playthrough. You shall seal the blinding light that plagues their dreams. You are the vessel. You are the Hollow Knight. No, I won't accept that. The Hollow Knight was chosen to contain the light, but I, the ghost, no, King of Hallownest, was chosen to unify the sane bugs of the kingdom, to unify the souls of those wishing to be remembered, and to unify the void. The siblings are now dormant, and I know what I must do. At the entrance to the black egg, I found the gendered child. Since the egg can only sustain those made of void, she can't join me in this fight, and will instead watch from the sidelines. But she will aid as much as she can if the moment presents itself. I went into the egg, thinking that maybe since I unified the void, my sibling will be freed from the light. I went into the arena to find out. Nope, he's still infected, shit. After a few deaths, I equipped a new charm loadout and was ready to face the Hollow Knight again. A third phase? Okay, I'm ready. What? Why is he... The infection can't possibly be making him do this. He's actively removing it from himself. Maybe the amount that oozed from him with every hit was enough to allow him to come back at least partially. He certainly has a mind to think, because that mind allows him to help me free him. He has a will to break, since the action may be from him wishing to be free after a long time sealed, destined to fail as a prison for the light. And he has a voice to cry suffering. Even though it may not be of the Hollow Knight, it still shows his endless suffering and hatred for his failure. It's okay, brother. None of us truly met the requirements. Your kingdom does not blame you. Your people do not blame you. But your sibling wishes to free you. So allow me to do this. Despite the knight managing to fight the effects of the light, it's still not enough. There's no choice but to break the shell that holds the shade. This kingdom is long dead, and it's better to lose it than to lose the only remaining vessel. What? Hornet? His shell. It's broken! Is that the sun? This kingdom has been dark and gloomy for so long. Where am I? What am I challenging? The armies of heaven? Oh. Shit. The Radiance, also known as the true final boss of Hollow Knight, is the source of the light that plagues the kingdom. She's a literal moth god who spreads the infection to avoid being forgotten by her followers, by plaguing their dreams and turning them mad or mindless. Now, as a boss, this is gonna take a long time because of the simple fact that everything she uses as an attack does double damage. And even with the extra lifeblood masks I had, not much stopped me from dying very quickly. Yeah, I'm gonna go find some more shit to help me with this fight. Kirby was leading me into the royal waterways to find a new upgrade, but ended up making a small mistake and leading me the wrong way. So I had to go to the City of Tears and open the entrance. Before going in though, I finally checked out what this sign was pointing towards, and it was none other than Lem. You know what Lem does? He buys relics. Do you know what I've been collecting throughout my playthrough, not having a single clue what to do with them? Relics! Let's do the math here. With all of the relics I have at this moment, Lem would give me 11,050 Geo. And I'm only finding this out now! Even Kirby was wondering how I managed to get through this game. I didn't end up selling anything because I didn't need money right now. But I did end up buying a rancid egg at Kirby's request. I still don't know what these do. I then explored a bit more of the waterways and started hearing someone laughing. In my pursuit of what's funny, I found part of the waterways that is completely covered in shit. And amidst this part of the area is a guy who defends the shit. Wow. Yeah, I beat him first try.
I did.
After draining a bunch of acid, I went into a small portion of the area, Isma's Grove, which is a pretty beautiful place, not gonna lie. In here I found Isma's Tear, which repels acid. Now that I had every upgrade in the game, Kirby led me to get some other stuff, namely, Great Slash from the last Nailmaster, Shio, a charm from a giant slug thing, an explanation on what Confessor Gigi actually does, and finally, the corpse of a large bug, which allowed me to unleash unspeakable horrors on the bugs of Dirtmouth, and adopt a child. And then he told me that I can go beat the game now. Shockingly enough, after all of that, I got to the Radiance and started doing mad damage to it, to the point where the void started to rise from below and I made it fall from its high point, almost entangled by my siblings. I did end up dying afterwards, but I was confident that if I got here now, I could get here again. Tomorrow, because I'm very tired. I hopped on the next day, visited the Grub Father because I wanted to see what I could get from him before I beat the game, and came back ready to finally end this.
Okay, I'm kinda dumb for that. Nope.
It's honestly sad. Let's look back at the ability I got long ago, to see the state of the kingdom. The Hollow Knight likely has the same bound within the Black Egg, knowing that the kingdom is beginning to fall, and that although he was chosen to stop it, his impurity let the light out, forced to be nothing but a prison within its own, a captive savior who failed at their duty, watching everyone and everything that he once protected crumble. He prolonged their existence, their thriving, but it wasn't enough to give the kingdom the eternity the king desired. It waited for a vessel to take its place, a vessel who is truly hollow, who can seal the infection for good and free the kingdom once and for all. And that vessel is not me, because I keep fucking dying!
Okay. Oh! What? Oh. Why am I absorbing the infection? Am I absorbing the infection from all of Hollowness?
Now for the ending I actually meant to get. The Radiance is a difficult boss, overshadowing the Hollow Knight in terms of difficulty, which makes sense since she's using him as a puppet. She uses her light in many ways to attack the Knight, as swords, spikes, or beams. She can do it all to ensure that her purity, her life, really? Zen, why? She can do it all to ensure that her purity, her light, is never dimmed or forgotten. However, the one thing that she should know by now is that the Void is united, and that even a little flame will never be able to protect itself from the uncertainties within the dark. She may be able to stay up, floating above the arena within her safe sky, but I had my way to make her fall to me. To us. Narrowly escaping the tendrils, she flees, but she still creates platforms for the fight to go on, because the only way to stop our silent choir is to silence its conductor. She rose yet again, hoping to let the fall be enough to leave me without a shell to return to. But I climbed, and I called to them.
Brothers! Brothers of the void beneath! We've all failed to climb to seal it within a chosen one. but we shall prove ourselves and save this kingdom by sealing the light within our unified darkness. Ascend with me and let us free this kingdom of its infection, because no cost is too great. Okay, maybe we should try this again.
Yes! Yes!
I have genuinely no words to describe how much I love this game. At first it felt a bit slow and at times a bit unnecessarily difficult. But regardless of that, I wanted to push through. I trusted Kirby with the last game I played and it ended up as my favorite, so I took a leap of faith with this one. Although I hadn't played barely any at the time, this was my favorite Metroidvania, and is a game I still hold dear to this day. The journey, exploring the depths and corners of this vast dying kingdom, was one of the best times I've ever had in a video game. Team Cherry delivered with an experience that not only exceeded my expectations, but allowed me to embrace my curiosity, even if I didn't fully do that. But the YouTube videos I watched didn't take away from the experience at all, to be honest. It was still an amazing game that I will forever love. I did feel rather shameful each time I searched up the solution for something, but I'm glad I still loved the game overwhelmingly, and now I go into future games willing to explore unless I'm truly stuck. And before any of you comment on how I've missed certain things in the game and are awaiting a part 2 where I cover them, I've done the Delicate Flower quest, I've 112%ed the game, I've completed the Colosseum of Fools, I've beaten the game in Steel Soul mode, I've beaten every Pantheon, and I've done the Path of Pain. Editors in here. Yes, I could have just added this to the script, but I wanna just emphasize how funny this is. In the original draft of this script, which I had written before I actually started looking through the playthrough, which included the part where I talk about the stuff I did off camera, I mentioned the fact that I beat all of the Pantheons twice, which at the time was a complete lie. So as I continued writing the script, when I got to the end, I removed that twice. But while I was editing part 1, I decided that I wanted to do a technically fourth playthrough of Hollow Knight, just to remind myself of the game. And before I actually did that playthrough, I decided, let me just fool around in the Hall of Gods for a bit. And after I got bored with that, I moved on to trying Pantheon 5 just to see how far I could get after not playing for basically almost a year. And the funny thing is, I beat it first try.
No way! No way! What?
On to the next section though. Hollow Knight's music is amazing. Up until this point, I hadn't ever heard a video game soundtrack that lacked digital instruments up until now. The classical-esque songs, the ambience, and the overall sound design of this game was nothing less than stellar. I'm here to tell you about my favorite song throughout the game and its DLCs just to not leave a stone unturned. Within the base game, my favorite area theme is the City of Tears. Beautiful. It's a song that was stuck in my head from the moment I heard it, and is also the reason why the city is my favorite area. Besides deepness, but I will never admit that. Wait. My favorite boss theme is Sealed Vessel. I've never heard a better shift from intense and violent to melancholic in a song before. Now for the DLC. My favorite DLC theme in Hollow Knight is Pure Vessel. I literally can't describe any of these songs beyond saying that they're incredibly beautiful. I love how slow this theme is compared to Sealed Vessel. It kinda shows the fact that despite this fight being more difficult, it's a fight beyond just showing strength. This is the one theme I can't separate from the boss fight. But defeating the Pure Vessel is a perfect way to show the flaws of the Pale King's initial plan in my eyes. Plus, the song is just a lot more eerie. More like it's trying to scare you into submission more than show you the chaos within your opponent's shell. Now that I think about it, why am I speaking so much about this song when it isn't my favorite? Ever since I replayed the game, my opinion on what my favorite OST is has actually changed. At first it was Sealed Vessel, and it was that for a long time. Until I finished editing this video and I realized that there's one other song that stands out much more. And that song is The White Lady, the one you're listening to right now in this exact section. That signals how late of a change of opinion this was, because I didn't even change the background music of this section. Anyways, now for the explanation. It's slow, but that's what makes it beautiful. A harp stands out amongst all other instruments, especially in this OST specifically. And it being the sole one in the song lets me focus on its beauty as well. It fits the theme of a monument within a garden, and its motif is simple yet memorable. I would also be lying if I said that most of my love for this song didn't emerge after my playthrough of Silk Song. But you'll probably see that video at around 2029, if not never. There's no other way to describe it, it's just this song is the perfect way to describe the melancholy of finding out the truth of the origin of the vessels. I find it hard to disconnect this song from the game like I do with most video game OSTs I love. But I guess what makes it special is that anytime I hear it, it brings back a memory. One could even say, a red memory. I'm sorry.